Well, what a difference a year makes. I'm doing my polytunnel completely different this year. I'm really focusing on making it easy for myself. What I found in previous years was just far too much work, it was far too crowded with stuff, far too much management required, too much watering required, too much pruning required, too many disease issues to manage and all that sort of thing. I love this polytunnel in spring, autumn and winter, but in summer it's just not an optimum growing space for very many things. A lot of the tomatoes do better outside, peppers do better outside, courgettes do better outside, you know, pretty much everything does better outside, or under my low tunnels or cold frames and things. So I'll tell you what I'm doing and how things are changing, and I'll start in that far corner. So I've still got my first early courgettes, sorry, second early courgettes in there. The first early courgettes are in the greenhouse. They're coming to an end now. These have still got another sort of 3 or 4 weeks left in them. And then these next batch of courgettes have come ready down here. They're starting to fruit now, but nowhere near enough to keep us going. So I'm going to keep those going. That'll be the only thing that I've got in containers in here. But by the time we get to July, I probably won't have any containers in here. That's kind of the objective. Much easier to have things in the ground. I don't mind having things in containers in the greenhouse at home. That is so much easier to look after than it is here. So next up, I've got my beetroot down here. These are all my first earlies. Been eating these for months. I decided to just chop all the tops off them. I did the same last year. It's the best way, I think, just to keep them in kind of suspended animation. Basically, they're basically in storage. They're nice and fresh because they've still got the roots in the ground. They're still pulling water out, keeping them nice and healthy, but they're not growing too much more, and obviously there's no leaves kind of getting in the way and shading everything else. So that's the beetroot. I've got my stepping stones down here so I can stand on the beds and get easy access to look after the tomatoes for pinching out and pruning leaves and harvesting and all that sort of thing. And then in between the paving slabs, I'm going to have basil, the old lettuce plant probably, and I've got some flowers in there, companion planting. So the actual tomatoes themselves are in really late because I've already got my first earlies, which I've been harvesting for about a month in the greenhouse. My second earlies, which I've taken out of this path, which is where they were earlier on today, put them on the other side of the polytunnel on the path, and they will be happier there. So it's warming up now. They're tumbler, the variety. It's an outdoor hanging basket pot bush tomato. Is perfectly content outside. It'll give a much better crop, and it's so much easier to manage, you know, because it needs watering every sort of 3 days or something like that, rather than every day if it was in here. And yeah, so I'm not in a rush really for these tomatoes, so I put them in late. That's why they're so small, but yeah, they're doing okay, coming on well, putting on a lot of growth. So these should be in full production when my second early tomatoes are starting to finish. I've still got a few tomatoes that I'll keep at home just for snacking and things like that. But this is our main crop tomatoes for making passata mixes. So that's that side. And then on this side, I've got my cucumbers in underneath the trestle table. One cucumber there, one cucumber there. Cucumbers are big plants and they can put on a lot of growth, so I give them a lot of space. They climb up the string up into the roof, and then they kind of grow all the way through the canopy of the polytunnel. And same with these melons. I've got a watermelon and 2 cantaloupes there, and they're Minnesota midgets, so they give lots of small melons. So these are my earlies. I've got loads more outside in the cold frames, but these are by far further on, so it's actually quite nice to see that the polytunnel's given those a bit of a boost. I think long term they'll enjoy it more outside in the cold frames than they will inside in here, because it'd be a bit too hot for them. But I think generally speaking it's worth it for an early harvest. Then I've got my first early celery, use this as a cut and come again, and just take off individual stems like that. And yeah, that should keep us going through all the way through summer. And then at the back here, I've got my main crop courgettes. So I've got 3 of these here. I'll probably put a late crop in as well, but for now, they're going to take over from the second early courgettes pretty soon, about 3 weeks or so. I should think these will be in full production. And that is it. That is so much less than I normally have, but I want to relax in summer, and it's going to give it to me. Now obviously I've got plenty of space outside on the allotment, I've got the greenhouse at home, I've got the kitchen garden at home, so I'm not short of space. But as I said, polytunnels, fantastic for most of the year, but God, they get hot in summer, really hot, and they're hard work. Anyway, if you want more, take a look in the description. You'll find my ebook and a big section on polytunnel growing and greenhouse growing and growing undercover in general and just everything gardening. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.